Hey, this is Nicole Kelly, host of Disarming Disability. Thanks for listening to the following show on Public House Media.
You're listening to Catch Up, an official news production of Public House Media.
Today is July 20th, 2020, and it's time to catch up on the news that you need to know about.
Today we're helping you catch up on how John Lewis is being remembered,
a conflict between the Senate and the White House over the next stimulus package,
a recent celebrity split,
and as always, ending with a bit of good news for you today.
We're your hosts, Kylie Thompson
and Anna Herman. Welcome to Catch Up. Of all the ways that John Lewis influenced American life and politics, his impact on young people may be among the most enduring. From student activist to elder statesman, Lewis continually encouraged the nation's youth to start, quote, good trouble, and modeled just how to do that. He was arrested alongside millennial activists pushing for comprehensive reform of the United States immigration laws in 2013. He led a sit-in at the House of Representatives over gun control following a mass shooting at an LGBTQ nightclub in Orlando in 2016. And when he was not protesting, he was helping young people understand history, as well when he cosplayed as his younger self at San Diego's Comic-Con to celebrate the release of his Selma, an Alabama-themed graphic novel series in 2015.
Lewis, the black civil rights icon who some called the conscience of Congress, died Friday. In one of his last public appearances, he posed for a picture in June, standing on the Black Lives Matter Plaza mural painted just outside of the White House amid nationwide protests over the death of George Floyd. As a young man, through clouds of tear gas and a hail of billy clubs, Lewis nearly lost his life marching against segregation and for voting rights. As a Georgia congressman, Lewis was generous with his time, taking meetings and sharing stages with activists who, from Stanford, Florida, to Ferguson, Missouri, Baltimore to Minneapolis, also withstood tear gas, as well as rubber bullets, pepper spray, and arrests in their own protests against racism. The White House and Senate Republicans are disagreeing over the amount of funding that should be given to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the next round of stimulus spending, according to CNN.
Some Senate Republicans are pushing for more funding for COVID-19 contact tracing and testing, but the White House argues that there is enough funds remaining from the March stimulus law. The final decisions in regard to the next stimulus plan are set to become public next week, so any decisions as of now are preliminary.
Administration thinks that the CDC is adequately funded at the moment and that there is still money from previous phases of relief packages that remain unspent. They don't want to add funding to activities and programs that still have adequate money, so the ongoing dialogue between the White House and the Senate is to guide the resources to where they are most needed.
Here to talk more on this subject is official Catch-Up correspondent Max Walpuff. How are you doing today, Max?
It's a fine day. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. So why is there such a disconnect between the White House and Senate Republicans on this topic?
Well, some of it does have to do with where the White House wants the focus to be on. The White House has been relatively consistent in messaging, wanting this to be a state-led issue. So they want states to step up their own funding for their own testing capacity rather than having a federally led initiative. However, the Senate, with both the GOP and the Democratic Party, they have been on this bill of saying we need to ramp up more testing, especially as cases have gone up and as deaths have gone up throughout the United States, and concentrated now in states like Florida, Texas, and California. So from an observer's point of view, I think a lot of the disconnect is where the government wants the focus to be, whether that be on the states or whether that be a federally led program.
And so, Max, President Trump recently stated that more testing creates more cases. What did he exactly mean by this for funding for more testing?
So some of the thought goes with more testing creates more cases. More testing finds more cases. The virus will continue to circulate whether or not you test people. It's a matter of whether you know people have the novel coronavirus or whether they are just sick with something. So what this could mean for more testing is that the federal government wants to back away from responsibilities for funding its own testing, funding its own kits, sending it to states, finding new ways to expedite laboratory testing. I know where I live in Miami, there is a huge backlog of cases where people go to a testing site and have to wait 5 to 10 days, relatively speaking, depending on where you went, to get test results. And at that point, contact tracing is relatively useless because the test is only as good as when you go. So if you go get a test, then you go attend a large party, that large party might have given you the novel coronavirus, but now your test is delayed because that negative result is before you went to this party. So there's a lot at play here of who gets to take responsibility for testing people and for turning around test results. And this report that the federal government wants to back out of the funding says to me that the federal government wants the states to take this up.
Right. Well, thank you for joining us today on Catch Up, Max.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
The romance is over for one popular sports couple. Aaron Rodgers and Danica Patrick have parted ways. The Green Bay Packers quarterback and the past NASCAR and Indy star have been dating for more than 2 years. In January of 2018, Patrick told the Associated Press that they were indeed together after 2 weeks of rumors. The Chicago Bears fan even promised to root for the rival Packers in support of her then sweetie. But as of this week, she is no longer even following him on Instagram. In fact, Rodgers hasn't appeared on her Instagram page since April when she shared a shot from their spring vacation to Machu Picchu. Just 2 weeks earlier, she shared another post in which she referred to him as her, quote, super smart, talented, ambitious, good-looking, and wise boyfriend, end quote. As of Saturday, Rodgers still follows Patrick from his own account.
Months before dating Patrick, Rodgers spoke to ESPN about his past relationship with actress Olivia Munn and what led the two of them to part ways. When you are living out a relationship in the public eye, it's definitely difficult, he said. It has some extra constraints because you have other opinions about your relationship, how it affects your work, and, just some inappropriate connections. Breakups are never easy, especially in the public eye. I just wish the best for both Aaron Rodgers and Danica Patrick moving forward.
Kylie and I do as well. But moving on to a bit of good news, as always. An environmentally conscious college grad recently came up with a new way to package every college student's staple, ramen noodles, to produce less plastic waste and to eliminate the single-use wrappers that contain the pasta.
Holly Grounds, a Ravensbourne University London alum, invented an edible and spiced packaging for the noodles. Grounds says she felt compelled to develop her, quote, dissolvable noodle packaging, end quote, after realizing the long-lasting environmental consequences of such a quick and easy meal, according to the Good News Network. She said on her blog recently that the product can be cooked and eaten in under 10 minutes, yet the packaging for ramen noodles can take 8 decades to decompose.
After hours of testing, Grounds managed to eliminate the plastic noodle sleeve as well as the single-use spice packets by incorporating the seasoning into the biofilm packaging. While the biofilm is thick enough to keep the noodles from getting stale, it melts into the ramen broth exactly 1 minute after coming into contact with boiling water. Grounds stated that she can produce the film by mixing potato starch, glycerin, and water with the seasonings and pouring the concoction into a mold so that it can set for 24 hours. Once solidified, she uses the film to wrap the noodles into a donut shape for even heating on the stovetop. For hygiene purposes, Grounds then bundles the meal into a paper wrapper.
Since this packaging has been seen worldwide, Holly Grounds is hoping to make a real impact on the environment, as well as the way we package and produce food items. Grounds shared her packaging with the world with the goal of inspiring other businesses and product companies to change their packages as well. This sure would have been nice while I was in college, because I hate to admit how much ramen I ate to begin with, but I never even thought about what a quick dinner for me was doing to the environment.
Yeah, no, definitely, Kylie, me either. And I hope Holly's invention goes on to be the norm for food packaging so we can all make our carbon footprint just a little bit smaller, because every little bit helps.
Definitely. Thanks for catching up on today's news with us. I'm Kylie Thompson.
And I'm Anna Herman. Please be sure to catch up with us again tomorrow.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
We appreciate you listening to Catch Up. For even more content, follow Catch Up Digital on social media. Just search for @TimeForCatchUp.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the stories we covered today. Just use the hashtag #PassTheCatchup on social media.
Catch Up is an official production of Public House Media.